All right, so we're going to get started in just a few moments. So I'd like to start first by introducing Supervisor Shirley Zane. She's going to give some welcoming remarks, and then we'll get right into our program. And from there, we'll go forward. So Supervisor Zane, here you go.
All right. Well, first of all, I just want to welcome everyone to the Roadmap to Recovery workshop. I know you're here because you're here for information, so I'm going to keep my comments short, and I hope that we can help you with that recovery tonight. I know that you probably all would rather be home watching the Warriors game, but it's essential, right, to be here and get that information. And if there's anything that you don't get, please let us know anytime, because we will get that to you. We will respond in emails and phone calls. We have a great website, and so don't be afraid of missing things. Just, reach out to us, and they have your phone number, right, Tracy? Yeah, okay. It's 565 1778. So that's Tracy Cunha. She's part of my staff, and she's incredible. And thank you for all the work you've done with the fire survivors. So, yeah. So I know that at any given week you are juggling multiple after-hour events focused on rebuilding and recovering, such as this one. And then you still have to keep up your everyday lives and do that whole rebuilding process. But we have a great group of presenters tonight. Amy Bach has lined up for us. Lois Hopkins from the County's Office of Recovery and Resiliency is here. Deputy Commissioner Tony Signorelli from the California Department of Insurance is here again. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us a couple of weeks ago with the Commissioner. Really appreciate you being here tonight from Sacramento, Tony. And Cindy Foreman from Sonoma County Fire Prevention District is also here. So I want to thank all of you guys for taking time out to be with our fire survivors this evening. Additionally, I do want to thank Amy Bach and United Policyholders for once again putting on this really timely and hot topic workshop. They've played a really pivotal role in getting information to our fire survivors, and they are really valued throughout our community. Did she make it yet from the traffic? She's on her way. Okay, I was going to call her out, but she's still struggling getting up here from San Francisco. So anyway, thank you. Big thanks to Amy and her wonderful staff for all their collaboration. So all four of the topics on the agenda tonight have generated many, many questions from all of you throughout the county. And our offices probably collectively receive hundreds of emails and phone calls from our constituents about debris removal billing process alone. We know that's caused a tremendous amount of angst, and we made some promises early on, and we're going to live up to those promises. We've also heard from many members of the community that have expressed overwhelming concerns about the expiration of the additional living expenses looming out there on the horizon. And many of them are going to find themselves in dire straits if they hit the end of that additional living expenses before they receive, and I know it's a timing thing, certificate of occupancy. I know that the issue of debris removal coverage has been a frustrating and complex aspect with everything else that you're dealing with the fires. And I know it's caused angst and uncertainty in the billing process, but getting through that anxiety about the unknown has required a great deal of resiliency. And just to let you know, my heart goes out to you. It's been complex. That's why these guys are here tonight, to answer those questions. And by the way, if you haven't met Lois, she works with Mike Gossman in our Office of Resiliency and Recovery, and this is all they do. We've dedicated a whole office to do this for the county because we want to make you all whole again. So with that, I'm going to sit down, and the speakers are going to take over. And again, I just thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you all for the speakers. And I hope you're able to walk away with a lot of good information that can turn down that frustration or angst just a wee bit. If you don't get it, remember, please give us a call. We'll get it to you. Thank you. Okay, I knew I was going to, that was going to,
651-778.
That's the 3rd district, and the other districts are answering questions too, but we've dedicated Tracy to this. So feel free to give her a call. And then Lois is your number there at the Office of Recovery and Resiliency?
Yes, it's 565-1222.
565-1222. That's an easy one. And that's Lois from our Office of Resiliency and Recovery. And either one of these incredible women can help answer those questions. Okay, with that, I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Supervisor Zane. Thank you. And, I just want to reiterate that all of our speakers tonight are here to help. It's so wonderful that they're, giving you their phone numbers and, want to hear from you if you have any trouble at all. It's about overcoming obstacles that you can face, and we're all here to help you through those things. So our first speaker tonight is Cindy Foreman from the Sonoma County Fire District, and she's going to be talking about defensible space, and if you get any unsavory letters from your insurance company, how to help, and how her department can help, and how United Policyholders can help you get through if you get any non-renewal notices, anything like that. We'll be going a little bit more in depth a little later on in the presentation, but right now I'm going to turn it over to Cindy. Here you go.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Foreman. I'm a fire prevention officer for the newly consolidated Sonoma County Fire District. That fire district essentially encompasses the unincorporated area that surrounds the city of Santa Rosa. Formerly, it was the Bennett Valley Fire District, the Rincon Valley Fire District, the Windsor Fire District, and the Mountain Volunteer Fire Company are now all under our consolidated Sonoma County Fire District. So those of you that live in the unincorporated area around Santa Rosa likely fall into our district. Let me start off by saying that my heart really goes out to each and every one of you for what we all went through in October of 2017. I was out on the fire line doing evacuations, and I share your angst, I share your frustration, I share your fears, and we are here to support you, and we are here to do what we can to help in the recovery process. And one important component of that is certainly your insurance. And I'm going to touch a little bit on that. In the originally Rincon Valley Fire District, so during the fires, we were still separate fire districts. And in our fire district alone, we lost 1,408 structures, and 13 of the 24 that tragically perished were in our fire district. Excuse me, sorry. Obviously, this is a very important issue for us. We're working really hard on trying to hold property owners accountable for their defensible space. There's a new ordinance in the county called 13A. It's not, in my opinion, quite robust enough yet, but we're working on it. It exists. We are out there doing these inspections. The county is committed to holding property owners accountable. So I encourage you, if you have concerns or complaints about vegetation management, that you reach out to your fire jurisdiction, because we can inspect, we will inspect, and we will do notices, okay? So if you're in the city limits, obviously you're going to contact Santa Rosa City Fire Department, but if you're in the unincorporated area around Santa Rosa, you're going to be speaking to me. Really quick before I forget, let me give you my direct line, okay? I beg you, if you're going to call and leave a vegetation complaint, please make it brief. And I don't mean to be rude when I say that. I'm getting more than you can even imagine every day. And when the story goes on for 3 and 4 and 5 minutes, as much as I empathize and understand, it makes it really difficult for me to stay on top of these. So if you do have a complaint, please leave me a brief message. I'm looking for the property address or parcel number of the property you're concerned about. If you don't have that, where it is in location to your property, okay? So my direct line is 707-892-2003. So please feel free to reach out to me. It is my job to make sure that you are all, sorry, again, 892-2003. Ma'am?
What if your property adjoins county property that this fire years of my wages.
I'm sorry, so one more time.
My property adjoins county property that has overgrown weeds and fire hanging on.
Let me know that. Yeah, please. Yes, ma'am.
What about if it's not just a homeowner, but it's large tracts of land, like, I'm in the Mountain Road Ranch Association, and they have done an assessment and they're working on cutting trees down, which is going to take probably years. But there's other parcels of land that are not owned by them, that are owned by other HOAs or other, owned by other.
So common areas.
Common, they're very large, and between St. Andrews and Cross Creek, that whole valley, and I can't all dead trees, it's a huge.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
When are they going to be cut down or even
That-
started?
Those are really good questions, and I honestly don't have an answer for you right now on that. What I will tell you is that I agree with you. This is going to take a while. People are struggling just to rebuild, to find the money to rebuild, let alone to remove all the dead vegetation on their properties, right? And when we're talking about these common areas, when we're talking about large swaths of land like along Cross Creek, you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't see that getting rectified quickly. I'm just being honest.
So we had 28 trees on our property, just two little homeowners in our side.
Right.
I know it's work hard, but it's done.
I agree.
And I do that on my property, but in the common area, it doesn't help at all right on my property, the risk is there.
I'm not going to argue with you. I wouldn't if I could. You're absolutely 100% correct. Unfortunately, I don't see that problem getting rectified quickly. I do see, hopefully, that problem getting dealt with. But here's the other issue we're up against here in Sonoma County is trying to get a tree vendor right now is pretty impossible. And
Just buy a chainsaw, we did it.
I'm not, again, I'm on your side. I believe it. I'm right there with you. Again, I always say when people call and complain, if I could go out and do it myself, I would, because that's how passionate I am about protecting you guys. So I'm there with you. I believe that it's going to take a good amount of years before we really see that landscape change. And again, tree vendors right now are not a dime a dozen, right? I bet a lot of people in this room are on a waiting list with a tree vendor, right? So I wish I had the perfect answer for that. I just don't.
So what do you do with, like, there's a high weeds behind our house, and they call you up, leave a brief message, what do you do?
We send a letter out to the property owner, the registered property owner. They essentially have 30 days to respond to that. Then a second, we're required due diligence to notify property owners, and they do get, I'll be honest with you, they do get too much time to comply. It's just the legal process, I'm not gonna lie. But definitely, you know, we'll get a letter out to them. I'm gonna be cautiously optimistic here. I think that the majority of people following what we all went through would get that letter and go, yeah, I probably need to do something about this. That's my hope. Again, cautiously optimistic on that. So it's just notices, it's legal notification to them that the property is in violation and we're telling them they need to rectify it. The county does have a process at some point in the legal notification to force abate. I don't know what that looks like right now. I just don't, but it exists. So I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, no pun intended. If you do have questions, I do want you to have a chance to ask those of me. But I do want to touch on something that's really important that we're here to talk about tonight, and that is insurance, right? So historically, and this has been going on in my fire district, originally the Rincon Valley Fire District, for about 7 or 8 years now. When we start to see these campaign fires that happen in California, insurance companies get what I call the pucker factor, right? And they start looking, they literally, I've had agents tell me this, they go onto Google Earth and they start looking at where these properties are and these policyholders are, and they start going, oh, wow, no, let's get out there and inspect those because we probably either need to quadruple their rates or just cancel them. I have had many people in the Rincon Valley Fire District that had to go through the high-risk carriers, Lloyd's of London. I have lots of people that had to go through Lloyd's of London, and that's crazy to me. I thought Lloyd's of London insured legs and butts and things like that. I didn't know the crown jewels, right? I didn't know they were in the residential business. So those are considered high-risk carriers. And I've had people whose insurance rates are close to their mortgage. And that's just not okay, right? And those of you that are rebuilding in the higher fire severity zones, if you haven't got a call from your insurance company, I would bet you the minute that you get occupancy and move into that house, you're going to get a letter saying, hey, we need to talk to you about your policy, right? We've talked to the Board of Supervisors. We've talked to senators. We've talked to our state assembly folks. Laws need to change in regards to insurance. This cannot keep happening to people. We need to be able to get insurance. We need to be able to afford that insurance, and we need to know that we're going to be able to keep that insurance, right? So my suggestion to you is that it's not perfect every time, but if you get a notice from your insurance company and they're telling you, number one, typically it's going to say, hey, we need to come out and inspect your property. And they'll send somebody out, and that somebody may or may not be a professional in vegetation management and defensible space. They likely are someone that works for the insurance company and comes out and has some little form, I'm assuming, that kind of tells them what they should look at. And so when you get that, if you live in my fire district and you're getting that threatening note from the insurance company, I want you to get a hold of me, because I have had success in getting people to keep their policies. I will go up, or one of my staff will go up, and we'll take a look at the property, and we can give our professional recommendation, right? Because this is what we do. This is our business. The insurance industry is not in the business of vegetation management, defensible space, fire behavior, all of those things, right? That's not their business. So a lot of times there are things that can help. If you've got a water tank on the property, if you have, you know, there's a laundry list of things that can help. So my suggestion is that if and when you hit that wall with the insurance company, call me. We recently, within the last 2 years, had a reevaluation of what's called our ISO, or our protection class. And that's basically the insurance industry has a number that they assign your property. Low number is good, high number is bad, right? And that number goes from 1 to 10. So a lot of folks that lived in the Mark West Springs area, Reebley Road area, that kind of environment, right? Calistoga Road area, that's all in my district. They were high numbers. Okay, and there's a couple things that drive those numbers. One being, are you over 1,000 feet to a fire hydrant? Okay, and they're typically referring to municipal fire hydrants, meaning a fire hydrant that's maintained, and the ones in my district are either city hydrants, Town of Windsor hydrants, Cal-Am hydrants. They typically don't look at private hydrant systems. But sometimes what they don't know maybe won't hurt them a little bit, because there are lots of communities with private municipal or mutual water systems, and they actually have hydrants, and you folks maintain those systems, right? That's the problem for us with mutual water systems, is we don't know if they're maintained, right? We don't know if those hydrants are maintained and flushed and all that good stuff. So if we have a water system in our district that we know is maintained, and there's plenty of them, then I would actually put on that form, yes, they are within 1,000 feet of a fire hydrant, okay? The other thing that drives that is, are you over 5 miles to a fire station? And that is any fire station. That doesn't have to be my fire station. That doesn't have to be a Sonoma County Fire District fire station, because quite honestly, there's a lot of folks in my districts that are closer to Santa Rosa fire stations than they are to our fire stations. So the way that Sonoma County works is we have what's called automatic aid system. A mutual aid and an automatic aid. Automatic aid essentially means closest fire engine goes regardless of jurisdiction, okay? And so often I will use other fire departments' addresses as the address to put you within 5 miles, okay? Often they will send a form out that asks how many tankers and how many pumpers. They're asking how many fire engines and how many water tenders do we have? And I can provide all that information. They want to know how much water we carry and what the gallons per minute we can pump out of that, or pounds that we can pump out of that fire engine. So I can help with that. They ask things like, are there gates? Is it year-round road access? A lot of stuff like that. Sir, you had a question.
Are there variables for people who live up in the mountains that are on a tank, don't have fire hydrants that are hooked up to the city? All you
There's always one line in those questionnaires that the insurance company sends you, and one is there an available water source on site? And so if you've got a tank with water and you've got a connection for us, that's a yes for me, and that helps you, okay? Now, remember we talked about that number 1 to 10? 1 is a good number, 10 is a high number, not a good number. Sir?
Just wondering if you know the city of Santa Rosa is doing those evaluations as well.
They have ISO ratings, and theirs are fairly low. So theirs are, I'm assuming some areas are 2, some areas are probably a 5. Okay? Some areas in my district are a 3, some are a 5, and some are a 10W. 10W essentially means, yes, that's a high number. That 10 is a high number. But what we were able to prove to ISO is that we can bring enough of our own water. So that W is really important. So that 10 isn't the, end all, die all. That W helps a little bit, because that's basically saying to them that we know we can bring our own water. Am I over time?
I just wrap up soon, but you're doing great, and
okay.
thank you.
Okay. So again, reach out to me. When we want to be sure that the insurance, because I'm telling you, a lot of you used to be 8s or 9s or 10s, and a lot of you now are 5s. Okay. So that's huge. It is huge. Trust me, it's huge. Just take maybe a couple more minutes for questions. Are we good with that? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
We were hypothetically 8 before the fire, and now we're 5.
Where do you live? Do you mind saying?
Yeah, no, St. Andrews Drive,
Okay.
in the state.
You're in the city limits, correct? Okay, so that's a whole hydrant area. You're within 5 miles of a fire station. You are probably a 2. But check with Santa Rosa City to be sure.
It burned all the vegetation.
Doesn't matter, that didn't change. The ISO rating is based on fire department, equipment, stations, apparatus. It's based on all of those. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with where your house is, but it's all about us. We had to go and prove all this to ISO, okay? Sir?
Fire station down the road being rebuilt.
I don't have an answer to that, and I apologize. I do not know, honestly. I wish I did, sorry. Yes, ma'am? Low number. It's likely a 2.
Okay, wait, let me.
Yeah,
help-
but
let
again,
me
verify
help
that with
this.
Santa Rosa City. I do not work for the city, but it's a low number. It's a low number. Yes, ma'am.
Could you give me your title and department? 'Cause I
Sure.
didn't catch it.
Certainly. Cindy Foreman, I'm a fire prevention officer with the. Oh, I think I. Oh no, I didn't die.
I've got, yeah.
Occidental has a volunteer fire department in Occidental, so that's probably who you would contact. Yeah.
We've got a question up here.
Oh, awesome.
Hi,
Hi.
how do I find out what my ISO number is?
What's your address? If you don't mind saying.
Yeah.
Or what street do you live on? How about that?
It's off of Mark West Springs Road.
How far up?
Half a mile down the road.
From the valley floor?
Well, it's, Mark West Meadows is,
I know where Mark West Meadows is.
Yeah,
So
so
you're
I
going to
live
be,
on Meadow
you're going to be a
Vista Trail.
5. And I would
5.
throw that W in there too if you give that to your insurance company.
okay.
Give them a 5W,
Okay.
okay? I can tell you your number. I know, based on where you live, I know what your number is.
Last question.
I got it all right here.
Hi, so you mentioned 5 miles. My insurance company said 2 miles, so what are they doing?
I don't know. That's why I'd reach out. Who's your fire department?
It's Piner
Road?
and Coffee.
Unincorporated in the city limits.
I'm unincorporated. I'm West Piner.
So you would be in my district then?
Right.
You're in the you were in the Rincon Valley Fire District? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're going to be a 5.
Okay.
Actually, you may be, I got to think about that. At the highest, you're a 5. You could be a 3. Could be a 3.
So I obviously I have a feeling
we could
that
do this all night long,
could
sir.
go on and on. Cindy, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming down. And we went a little bit out of order on account of me being stuck in traffic. So I missed Supervisor Zane, but I didn't miss you, which is important. So I just want to make sure that the audience is clear that Cindy's agency is obviously right in this with you in terms of helping you do the things that you're going to need to do to keep insurance on your homes going forward.
Yep.
And so, as we go forward, and we're still here, we're going to be here through the second anniversary and probably beyond. So if there's enough interest and people want to have another event that's solely focused on what's my number and what can I do about it, then we will do that. So thank you so much for your
You're so
time.
welcome. And just keep in mind, it's just me right now in our prevention bureau. There's just two of us really, and so if you got a message, give me a few days to get back to you, please. I will. You have my word that I will get back to you, but this is a really busy time of year for me, as I'm sure you can all imagine. And I wish you all the best, a speedy road to recovery, and we are with you in this. You are not alone in this. We are here, and we'll do whatever we can to support you. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I do want to say that before your fire, we had, United Policyholders had been getting very friendly with people like Cindy who were going out and doing inspections and helping homeowners to get a non-renewal reversed. So I'm so impressed. They don't have funding to do it. One of the things we're going to be doing in Sacramento going forward is really trying to get some funding so fire departments aren't just doing that sort of thing on the side, but so that they actually have funding to do it. And I think that's just another challenge ahead. Anyway, hello, I'm Amy Bach. It's so nice to see you guys. Thank you. It's so weird to say that it's really good to be here again with you, but I have kind of formed quite an affinity with all of you in this community, and it's just such an honor to be of use the way that we have been, and to be able to be making these partnerships with the county, with the Department of Insurance, and with the supervisors, so that this journey that you're all on together is one where, the phrase, it takes a village, could never be more apt than it is here. So, one of the reasons that we wanted to combine the three subjects tonight that we laid out, debris removal bills, temporary living expenses, and non-renewals, is that we've been here since the beginning. We've been here since the local assistance center was opened and turned into a disaster recovery center. We had been doing workshops every single month for, I think, the first year and a half, and then we slowed down a little because it felt like people needed to, were regrouping, people are at different places. But these are the issues, the three issues we wanted to cover tonight are fairly universal for a lot of people. Not everyone, obviously. But one of the three is going to be relevant, I would assume, to everyone. So I want to thank Emily Rogan for opening the meeting, and for Supervisor Zane and her staff member Tracy, who's here. And then I want to thank Lois Hopkins from the county's Office of Recovery and Resiliency, and Tony Signorelli, who has been here for a number of our workshops over the last 18 months, and is just a treasure. And anybody who ever says anything about government bureaucrats or people who work for state agencies, he is the living embodiment of how not true that is. That somebody who, he lives down in the southern part of the state. I highly doubt he gets any overtime pay. I don't know how he does it, but he manages to get around. And of course, he is in charge of, he oversees the folks that have been handling your complaints, your requests for assistance, but he does a lot more than that. He gets involved in solving problems in Sacramento. He was very instrumental in a lot of the bills that got through last session. So I just especially want to thank Tony. And of course the church folks and all of you for either missing the Warriors game or taping it or not caring enough and just being here. So has everybody, I don't know how many, anybody here for the first time? Anybody? Okay, well, there's a smattering. Just a quick reminder, United Policyholders is a charity. We're a 501c3. We are a voice and an information resource for consumers all over the country, but for the last 5 years, we've been really very heavily engaged in wildfire recovery support here and up in Paradise and down in Thousand Oaks and Malibu in the Woolsey area. So that's where we've been working. We've been around since the Oakland fire. In fact, Fred Booker back there, thank you, Fred, for helping out with sign-in. Fred Booker is somebody who lost his home in 1991 and pays it forward repeatedly in terms of the help that he got. But I love seeing him because I feel like, I can stand up here and blah, 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 and say, you're going to get through this, you're going to get through this, I swear. But, there's sort of the living embodiment that you definitely will get through this. So, again, the PowerPoint for tonight we will put up on the website. We have a videographer back there, Dan Carter, who we found him in Chico. We had him come down here because this video will be up there within a couple days for you to watch if you missed anything. And your neighbors, you can let folks know if they want to watch it. Okay, so let's get right into it. Fine print, workshop is intended to be general guidance, not legal advice. We still have our library up for you, the 2017 North Bay Fires Library. When the Department of Insurance put out a couple of real helpful bulletins recently, one of them about land value, one about ALE extensions. We put those right up there in our library, so we try to keep it current for you. Special thanks, I think we already went through that, but I did want to mention California Hope. They're out there still a source for y'all to get some counseling and emotional support through them. And one more acknowledgement, there's an attorney by the name of John Eisenberg who has been very dogged about finding legal arguments on the ALE extension issue. And he has written, I told him it was pretty legalese, so he tried to boil it down a little bit, but it is a set of legal arguments. I wanted to give him credit because if you go on our website, you'll be able to read his arguments as to why your insurer should extend your ALE benefits. But again, you'll find that as a link in our library online at uphelp.org. Tomorrow in Napa, if you have any friends in Napa, we are doing a unique first-time event where people can bring their I think you guys are all experts. You don't need this. You know how important it is now, in hindsight, to have enough insurance and to pay a little more attention to your insurance than most people do typically. But we have a whole pool of volunteers there. Actually, could we turn the lights down just a hair on the stage? Maybe that would make the slides be a little more legible, and let's just see if that's possible. So tomorrow, over at the Silverado Resort and Spa between 1:30 and 4, we will have volunteers there, and we will be taking some walk-ins to look at people's policies and say, okay, you know what, you don't have code upgrade coverage, or looks like you're kind of low on your dwelling, you're covered. There you go. Awesome, thank you. So if you know folks who you think would benefit from that, let them know about it. Again, it's free. It's tomorrow from 1:30 to 4 over at Silverado. There happens to be a convention of insurance experts that are there, and I pounced on them and asked them if they would, instead of playing golf tomorrow afternoon, if they would be willing to sit down with people. There's no sales. None of them are agents, so they're not going to try to sell you something. Okay, again, the free fire recovery guide available from the California Native Plant Society, cnps.org, will help you with your plants when you get there. A reminder, Vida Iskander is among us somewhere, and how many of you have been in touch with Vida at some point? Yeah, okay. So Vida is one of your local heroes of the recovery, along with so many. She lost her own home and just said, okay, we're gonna, United Policyholders, we didn't have the staff to host individual chats for different insurance groups, but we wanted we certainly did everything we could to help you guys form those groups. And Vita went one step further and actually set up some forums, and has just been an amazing source of that takes a village, sharing information. So Vita, you can go to neighborstogethersr.com /insurance-groups, and those are all the different groups that are chatting amongst themselves with Vita's help. So if you need that kind of support, it's still there. I'm sorry? Oh, it is neighborstogethersr.com. That's all you need, neighborstogethersr, Santa Rosa.com. And then you... Yes. So this next slide is just a list of 5 lawsuits that are currently underway. Anybody here a plaintiff in one of these lawsuits against? Okay. So these have nothing to do with PG&E. These are all lawsuits that have been brought by people who are underinsured through no fault of their own, innocently underinsured, and are seeking a remedy. So there are 2 that have been brought against State Farm. One of them is a class action that you can join. The other one, on our website, you can find a link to that. Another one, Mundy versus State Farm, is an individual. And because the individual is a senior citizen, there's a fast track rule in the courts. So that case is scheduled to go to trial this summer, and so far it's been going pretty well. So we're cautiously optimistic that, as I predicted a year and a half ago on this very stage, that the law will start to shift to be a little bit more reflecting of reality, which is that none of you went out there and said, oh, I know exactly how much insurance I need on my home, and told your insurance company that it was not, it was the other way around. So I have to help out on that suit free of charge, and the Mundy suit, because it is, in fact, got a trial date, so that one is interesting. The other ones, there's one against farmers, there's one against CSAA, and then there's one against Farm that is pretty, it's pretty ambitious. It's got all kinds of allegations in it about antitrust, and that one I just don't know where it's going to go. But I think I wanted everybody to know that there are these suits, and that you are still able to join one if you want to. So we're going to jump into the debris removal bills, which. Let's go back here for a second. Coordinated debris removal bills. So one of the reasons that we wanted to do this workshop tonight is to help keep everybody calm and focused on facts, because there have been rumors flying all over for quite some time about what's going to happen when the people who signed up for the coordinated debris removal program signed the right of entry form and agreed to assign their debris removal insurance benefits to cover a share of that cost. What's going to happen when those bills come in, right? So people have been hearing rumors, all kinds of rumors about the costs. And of course, the bills have actually not come in yet. So that's rumor number 1 that I want to quash. The bills have not come in yet, at least as far as we know. Has anybody here gotten a bill for the coordinated debris removal from FEMA or the Army Corps of Engineers? You have.
And I told them that when we signed it, they said it was at the end of the process of rebuilding, and whatever was left over was what the deal was.
Okay. Okay. So, but for the most people, and I don't know what that situation is, but I do know that we still don't actually know what the price tag is going to be of those bills. But when you get them, please hear me and really digest this. That doesn't mean you have to pay that bill, okay? I'm going to say it again. When you get that bill, that doesn't mean that you have to pay that whole bill, okay? You may not have to pay any of that bill. It just depends right? So that is, if you take nothing else away from tonight, what I'm trying to get clear here is don't panic, don't worry, it will get worked out. The county has been, from the very beginning, from the time that we were at the DRC and the right of entry forms were there and people were looking for information. Should I go it on my own? Should I hire Joe, pickup truck? Should I hire, or should I throw in with the group plan? Our organization has been helping people make informed decisions. And while we know that some of the debris removal, there were problems, there was some over excavating, those problems, the county, your public officials have been the entire time, it seems to me, and I was right there, and I've been working pretty closely, have had your best interests at heart. They have been trying to get your lots, they tried to get your lots cleared safely so that there would be, we would know that there weren't going to be toxic substances left and that the materials would be disposed of safely. And I think the county has your back here, so bear with them as we navigate this, and just hang on and we will get to the questions. So first of all, that right of entry form did include, you did assign some of your benefits, but may not be the end of the story, because again, the county is very aware how much you need every dollar of your insurance benefits, right? And I think we all understand the reality. We know that at least 2/3 of you are underinsured. We know that insurance companies have treated people very differently. Some of you got lump sum payments. Some of you got checks and you didn't know what it was for. So please just take a deep breath on this issue and remember that it's going to be about facts, not rumors, okay? And not about politics and what you think about government or anything like that, okay? Policies differ in how the benefits are calculated and payable. So we know, and the county knows, that a lot of you have no idea how much you've gotten from your insurance company in debris removal benefits, because those benefits might have been lumped in with something else, and we understand that. And then, so how do they differ? Some of the policies give you an extra 5% on top of your coverage A, and also on top of your other structures and on top of your contents, if your loss maxed out in those three categories. Some policies have a set dollar amount for debris removal, and some only give you debris removal within the limits of those three categories. So your dwelling, your other structures, and your personal property. Now, the situations differ between most of you. Some of you got lump sum payouts, and some of, even those of you who are insured with the same company, are getting different stories from your adjusters. So obviously, State Farm is the one that seems to be cropping up a lot. Some people, their adjusters are saying, well, if the debris removal bill doesn't separate what debris was contents from what debris was dwelling, we can't process it, which is ridiculous. That's a perfect situation to bring to the Department of Insurance, meaning the policy doesn't say, and the debris must be carried out separately, because that is completely ludicrous. No one could ever do that, obviously. Debris from a wildfire is commingled dwelling and contents. So again, if you're getting that kind of a line from your adjuster, that's something I would encourage you to file a request for assistance, and Tony will address that during Q&A. So here's one sample of a debris removal policy where the coverage is within A. See, it says this expense is included in the limit of liability that applies to the damaged property. Okay, so you don't have a bucket at all for that. So if you need every dime of your coverage A to put your house back, then you don't have any insurance benefits for debris removal to turn over to anyone. And the county understands that, and they're not planning to come after you, as far as I understand. Okay, this is another example. Sample policy, debris removal above the coverage A. This is where it says we will pay the reasonable expenses you incur this expense is included in the limit, but if, when the amount payable for the property damage plus the debris removal exceeds the limit for the damaged property, an additional 5% of that limit is available for debris removal expense. This additional amount of insurance does not apply to additional coverage item 3, trees, shrubs, and other plants. Well, what that doesn't tell you, what I had to learn myself, was that it does apply to your content and your other structures. So you can actually get 5% on top of those 3 if you've maxed out, if your loss caused you to max out, okay? So you would get extra debris removal. And frankly, you did get the service. You did get your debris removed. So if you haven't gotten money yet from your insurance company for debris removal because you have not yet presented them with a bill, then I think, a lot of people would say, well, then you should turn those additional benefits over to the county because you did get that service. So that is, to me, there have been a number of people who have already turned over some of their debris removal money to the county. That said, we're going to get to the county, what the county wants to share with you, because again, the county understands that a lot of you had to spend money to fix the debris removal problems, because either your lot was over excavated or there was damage done to your property, and whatever money you spend on that will be offset against what your debris removal benefits may be that are still coming to you. So I know there's questions. So what I want to do is give Lois Hopkins a chance to speak. Lois is probably another person who's not getting overtime to be here. Another person who is an example of a public employee who actually really does care very much about your community and very much about this issue. And Lois, if you want to come up, I met Lois at a block captain meeting, and she came right up to me and said, "Can we do a workshop together? Because I really want to get good information into people's hands so that people aren't going on the basis of rumors and fear." So Lois, thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, everybody.
Do you good with that? You want to, whatever you want.
No,
You can
I'm
take
stand.
this.
I
You
have
want
too much stuff I want
Okay.
to cover. So I'm Lois Hopkins, and I work at the Office of Recovery. In October of 2017, I was at the County Administrator's Office, and I worked in the Emergency Operations Center during the fire. I want to come to you today, hopefully with good news about the process that the county is going to go through as we work together to try and collect the insurance proceeds. So as most of you know, when the fires, after the fires were put out, the county contacted the state of California to request assistance with the debris removal, and the state of California went to the federal government and asked for assistance. So in exchange for the federal government coming in and doing the work, the county agreed to handle this insurance collection and the debris removal paperwork. So the county has looked at different ways to approach the process and how it could best serve all of you. And so we've decided that we're going to handle it with county staff doing the work, and people working that live in the community will be the ones that will be interacting with you. I know many of you who were involved in the over-excavation program or debris issues. Doug Bonnell in the Office of Recovery was there. I know he has spoken to a lot of people. He's returning to the county to help me kind of manage this whole process. So Sonoma County's obligations to the federal government consist of 2 items. They need to ensure that there is no duplication of benefits occurring with constituents, and the county needs to make reasonable efforts to collect the insurance proceeds. That reasonable effort is defined by 3 very specific activities. One is to manage the right of entry paperwork, which we have. The second is to send an insurer notice to end the Cal OES cost reports. That insurer notice is a letter to the insurance companies advising them of the government sponsor or the coordinated debris removal program, that their insureds participated and signed the right of entry form to participate in the program, as well as that they have assigned the rights to the county for the collection of the insurance proceeds. The third and last reasonable effort that the county has to do per the term of the agreement is if they don't receive a response from the insurance company, they will send the insured the same information. So those really are the two activities that the county needs to engage in. So the first one is the duplication of benefits. Many are probably aware of it. It is basically that an individual cannot receive compensation for the same activity from two sources. So the county, as we move through the process and as we talk about how we're going to roll this out, we're going to ensure that that doesn't, oops. So here's where it gets a little involved. But so the procedures that the county is going to do and the position that the county is adopting is that the county is merely a pass-through agency between Cal OES and FEMA and the insured or the insurance company. We will not be doing analysis of policies. We will not be doing enforcement actions. We will make sure that the documentation that is submitted to the county is complete as we pass it on to FEMA. So the county will be sending out the letter to the insurance companies requesting the information and advising them of the consolidated debris removal program that their insured has signed up for it. In addition to the few things that we're required to include in that letter, we're also requesting some additional information from the insurance carriers, such as how much, what their estimate is for the debris removal, what is the total policy for the rebuild, as well as what's the insurance company's estimate of the rebuild. A lot of that extra information that we're going to be asking will enable us at the county to be able to identify those parcels or those individuals who are underinsured, and if they are underinsured, then based on the type of coverage that you have, it may not be necessary to produce any other documents, and the county would send that insured a letter stating that based on the insurance company information, they are underinsured, they have the type of policy that the debris removal coverage can be used for a rebuild, and that there's no further action required.
How do you know if your policy has the ability to use the debris removal funds for rebuild?
That's one of the questions that's in the insurance letter. Hopefully, the insurance company will identify that for us. And also where in the policy is the coverage located.
So what I'd like to do is get through the ALE extension issue. If you're done with your, you're not done. Let's let Lois get through her piece. We're going to do the ALE piece. It's not going to take hugely long. And then I would like to bring Tony up and have Lois stay and take all your questions at the end. Thank you.
Okay. So right now, the only thing that the county is doing is sending this letter to the insurance company. We're getting that obligation met. Upon receipt of the cost reports or the invoices, the county will also provide those to the insurance company. In addition to the insurance company, every insured will be notified that the cost report, they will receive a copy of the cost report. I know there's a lot of interest for the cost report. People are very anxious to see them, and there's a lot of insurance companies that are waiting for that invoice before they release any payment. So we are going to notify the insured as well as the insurance company. When the insurance money is received, whether it's received by the county or by the insured, hopefully the next step will be that the insureds contact the county. I know that the county will contact all insureds on any money that they receive out of their insurance policy. It's at that point when the insurance money is received that every insured who had additional expenses related to debris removal or damage caused by the debris removal process will be given an opportunity to come into the county and submit receipts and documentation, and the county will work out the balance. And if the county has received the insurance money and there is money owed to the insured, the county will issue a check to the insured. If the insured has received the money and comes in with their documentation and their receipts, they will only pay the balance of what they've been paid. When these statements and when this documentation is received by the county, we are not investigating them. We are not going to sites to determine whether or not they are in fact valid. We are not following up with any vendor or contractor to make sure that it has been, to test its veracity. What the constituents present to the county will be what the county passes on to FEMA. We are not doing any collection. We are not doing any enforcement. It really is what you provide to the county will be taken at face value. So I really want to convey that because I know there's a lot of concern that the county is going to be proactively trying to collect these funds, and we are not. We are really acting simply as a pass-through agency. So that's in submitting the offsetting expenses, and then we will reconcile it between you and the cost report based on what we get from FEMA, and we will pass it along. So I hope that relieves some anxiety with people that the county is really here to support you, and there were a lot of issues that were a result of the debris removal, and we want to be supportive of people being compensated for that. So that's it. Those are kind of my last thoughts that I want to keep you with, is that the money that will go back to FEMA is only insurance money. There will be no money that you will have to pay out of pocket. Everything will come out of the payment from the insurance company, less any offsetting expenses that you incurred as a result of the debris removal process. And then document. We'll be taking copies of everything electronically and passing that along to FEMA. So, and I'm here to answer any questions. And that's my contact number. Feel free to email me or call me, and I will get back to you. Thanks.
Okay. I did not reference in my haste here to join you the handout, but I want to make sure you all got one. If you didn't, you can pick one up on your way out. We gave you links for the most relevant publications that we have on our website to the topics we're covering tonight. And if you wanted to go back and look at that right of way or the right of entry form, we've got that on there. But I think the Sonoma County Recovers site will get you there faster. So I'm going to briefly cover temporary living expense extensions, which is another one of the issues that the block captains meeting identified as what I know people are worrying about because we're hearing about it at United Policyholders. So obviously, again, policies differ on how they pay your temporary rent, your expenses that you are incurring because of the loss of your home, right? So we've done workshops here, hopefully you guys were here, where we talked about what is an ALE expense that your mortgage payment isn't, but your rent is. And then the policies differ, that some of them have a dollar limit for your ALE max benefits. Some of them have a time limit, but no dollar limit. That's State Farm mostly. And some have both, a time and a dollar limit. And obviously for those, the majority of you have a time limit of 24 months. That's what the California law provides. There was a bill that got through last year that extended that to 36 months. It did take effect this year, but arguably it is not available to you guys. When I say arguably, I'm going to mention an argument that it is, but I think to be on the safe and reasonable side, you should assume that if your policy has a 24-month cap, after which your carrier will not be paying your temporary rent benefits, that they will be enforcing that unless they've told you otherwise. So those of you who are participating in some of the listservs and those of you who've been communicating with our organization know that we have been, that's part of United Policyholders' job, is to help you, give you guidance to get every dollar of available insurance benefits. That's why I'm here tonight. That's why we're talking about the debris removal, and that's why I'm talking about this, because obviously we know that probably none of you can afford to leave money on the table that may be coming from your insurance policy, right? So here, what we're talking about is we've got a little bit of a little legal argument going, but again, you know, sitting around waiting for a court to resolve whether or not that legislation applies to you or not is most of you want to do. So what we're here to suggest, everything that you can do on your own for free without having to pay somebody to be your lawyer, that sort of thing. So ask for an extension in writing. You think there is no chance that you're going to be able to be moved back in to a replacement home in next October, then you definitely want to be working on getting your insurance company to extend your temporary rent benefits. You want to provide supporting documentation. You want to use your leverage. If you have kids in school or if moving would be a particular hardship because of your health or some other reason, those are the things that you're going to be putting in your written extension request. And just like we always say, go up the chain of command, be the squeaky wheel. Here's some arguments based on logic for why your insurer should extend your benefits. Extenuating circumstances make it impossible for many people to complete rebuilding within 24 months. You can cite to specific examples of actions that your insurance company or your adjuster did that delayed your ability to move forward and get a replacement home in place. And then one of the most important pieces of leverage that you now have came from a bulletin that Tony probably wrote. No, I mean that the Department of Insurance put out on May 28th, which I've given you a cite to it, and when we get to the question and answer, I know Tony will be happy to answer questions about it, but I mean, basically what it is it's just logic. It's just the same logic. He's using the same logic that you would use in writing to your insurance company, which is, it's not my fault, and no one expected 7,000 structures to be destroyed in this region, and no one expected there to be the kind of shortages of labor and materials and land and professionals and everything else. And that this was so off the charts that it renders the policy requirement of 24 months void because it's impossible for you to comply. There's no way you could have completed replacing your home within this period. So those are the logical arguments that the commissioner made in his bulletin. He doesn't have the legal authority to force insurance companies to change the terms of their contract, okay? He doesn't. You know, any of you could take them to court, but again, that's a process. So we're here to talk about the ways that you might be able to use your leverage to get the extension. And certainly, as you know, this past week, your local newspaper, the Press Democrat, which has been, I think, very powerful ally to the survivor community over the last year and a half, did an editorial calling on the insurers to do the right thing and extend people's ALE benefits for those who need it. So this is a legal argument I mentioned earlier that John Eisenberg has written up, and you can read his memo. It's pretty lawyerese, but basically that he's got a couple arguments as to why the statutory change does in fact apply to your community. We give a sample letter on our website along with a number of others. You just put in the search box samples and it'll take you to all of our sample letters. And this is just a basic suggestion on how you would phrase your request. And of course, you put in facts. That's always very important. So that's kind of, those were the two main points we wanted to cover. Drop by your home insurer. This was when Cindy was supposed to be the last speaker, not the first one. I was just going to give you a very quick overview. Once your policy comes up for a second renewal after your loss, you're no longer protected by the law, and your insurer could non-renew you. If you kept your insurance in place for these years on the burned property, they might now non-renew you, and you would be in the boat with a lot of other people shopping for insurance for your rebuilt home or for the one that you are buying. Anytime your insurance company drops you, non-renews you, they have to give you 45 days notice. So non-renewing is different from a cancellation. Cancellation is when you're in the middle of the policy period, which is usually a year for each policy. Your insurer can only cancel you for very limited reasons. Once that policy contract expires, that 1 year, they can non-renew you for any reason as long as it's consistent with their underwriting guidelines, and as long as they give you that 45 days notice. So you do not have, as many people think, well, why don't I have like a vested right? I've been paying into this for this policy for whatever, 30 years. Why doesn't that give me some sort of right to stay a customer? And I think there's a lot of good logic to that, but the law doesn't support that. So then you can, if you don't get the required notice, then you file a complaint with the Department of Insurance. But if you do get that 45 days notice, then again, UP is right here to try to help you with a couple points. Don't panic. Take action right away. It may take you all 45 days. Try to get your insurer to reverse the decision and renew you. You heard Cindy offering to help with letters. And ask the insurance company for the reason for the non-renewal in writing, and then try to work with them to see if there's anything you can do to get them to reverse their decision. But then start shopping around. There are two kinds of insurance agents in the world, independent versus captive. Your independent would be a guy or gal who could sell you Safeco, the Hartford, the captive agent would be the State Farm, the farmers that can only sell you their one company's product, okay? So in this kind of a market, you're gonna have a much better shot of getting help putting insurance back on your property if you go with an independent, because they have relationships with a number of companies that they can put you with. And then where a lot of folks are going in high fire risk areas is they can't get insurance from a brand name that you would all know, CSAA, AAA, USAA. They are going to what's called a non-admitted type of insurance company. And that would be your Lloyd's London. That would be your, Golden Bear? They're not, they could, I can't, Lloyd's is the one that you hear the most. There's some names, Spinnaker, but basically it's going to be a Lloyd's type of a company. That's an okay option if it is a Lloyd's company, because Lloyd's typically has plenty of money in the bank. But if it is a brand that you have never heard of, it's more important than normal for you to check their financial rating. And again, at our website, we have links to the rating agencies that will give insurance companies a grade for how strong they are financially. And that's particularly important with a non-admitted because they are not covered by what's called the guarantee fund. So if they were to go belly up, you're SOL. With a non-admitted company, there's no safety net. If you were insured with a company like the Hartford that goes belly up, they're admitted, and so they pay into this guarantee fund. So if they were to run out of money, which they're not going to, but if they did, you would have a backup with this guarantee association. But you don't have that with the Lloyd's. But a lot of people are finding that that's better than going with the last resort. So shop around, ask your current agent for a recommendation for an independent broker. If they can't help you, you can try using our Matchup Insurance Finder, which is basically a network of insurance agents that say they have the ability to place people, and they're out there pretty proactively looking for companies that are interested in coming into California. You can use the Department of Insurance shopping tools that are excellent. And like I said, you want to check the financial strength before you buy. Again, no reason to panic. It's just like the debris removal bills. You know, the county has already said they're not going to come back after you. And just like this, you're not going to be completely out there without an ability to get insurance because there is always the FAIR Plan. That is a state-run insurer of last resort. They're very basic coverage. You don't want to stay in there long. If you have to get in there, though, it's something. You can comply with your mortgage and keep it. And then as soon as you just keep shopping. And the market is California is still a place, notwithstanding the wildfires, insurers still want to do business here. There's a lot of big, nice homes here. Your homes are going to be nice again. And at some point, maybe not like right now, there will be competition again. Maybe not the same as it's been in the past because of climate change. But I think, again, the market is still there, okay? And if you do end up going into the FAIR Plan, we recommend trying to supplement with a rider, which is sometimes called a difference in condition. So I want to, again, we're going to go to questions. I want to thank everyone. I want to encourage you to, if there are topics that you really want us to do a workshop on, we would be happy to hear them. Email info@uphelp.org. We are so grateful, again, to have the opportunity to be of service.